Hello and welcome to another Jay's Politics Blog podcast, part of the Podcast 99 Network. You can reach us at podcast99.org, or you can reach me personally at jpoliticspodcast or at Gmail. Wow, can't even do that. Let's try that again. You can reach me personally at jpoliticspodcast at gmail.com. JPOLITCTICS podcast at gmail.com. So today is a little rough day, not just because of the shooting that happened on Valentine's Day. Today, I was originally scheduling this at 2 and totally forgot that we had scheduled to put down our oldest dog today. He's just been suffering some what we assume to be neurological issues. We've tried some home remedies. It just hasn't worked out as best we can. So I bumped it up to 11 to give me time to do this, and then also, still spend time with him before we put him down, because I know I'm not going to be in a decent mood to actually do this after the fact. So I'm starting. This is a new segment. We're going to call it This Week in U.S. Politics, and this is episode 1. And basically the format's going to be a loose format of me discussing political stories of the day. I'm going to try not to get into the big issues of the day, such as with a how do I put it? Big issues like the shooting, but I will address those as need be, such as today. I'm not going to try and take a side on this as I do with my actual podcast, or same as I try to do with my actual podcast, not take sides on an issue, but present you with what we know. Now, the problem with doing this type of format is also the fact that we can end up having not all the facts when it comes time to actually discuss a particular topic, such as a mass shooting, because we don't have all the evidence. We don't have all the hard facts yet. All we have are what news reporters have been able to dig up. Now, some of that is factual, not all of it. Some of it is twisted, and I am not liking the way the brightness of my screen is going. So there we go. I'm also going to respond to chat. So if you are watching and you are in the chat, please feel free to say something. I am doing this I am doing it for me, but I'm also doing it for you, the listener. So please, hit me up on the chat and we can discuss things. All right, so let's boost that a little bit. So again, the first story I want to talk about is the Florida shooting. We've all heard about it, but there's been some. The FBI actually knew about the gunman. I'm only using 2 news sources today, one from each side: Fox News, CNN. Kill me all you want about my news sources. I'm just taking them for that, to get some information, discuss it, and then move on to another topic. Breaking within the last hour or so has been that the Department of Justice has indicted 13 Russians for election meddling. We'll get into that in a bit. But with the Florida shooting, it was reported to the FBI, the police, and the school, but the warning signs were missed. It's the title of the Fox News article. They're saying is that they got a tip last month on January 5th from a person close to Cruz that he had a gun and wanted to kill people, and that there was a potential for him to go to the school and do this on Valentine's Day. The FBI, local police and stuff, they get threats all the time. So, I'm not trying to pass the buck off on this, but they have to assess what threats are credible, what threats are not. And sometimes credible threats are misidentified. We are humans. We don't have the taxpayer money to fund the people to go out and do these checks all the time. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't take the threats and disregard them either. So what we need to look at here is quote from um, a quote from this article is under the established protocols, the information provided by the caller should have been assessed as a potential threat. I'm assuming this is a statement from the FBI because it doesn't actually. Yes, it's from the FBI. Should have been assessed as a potential to a threat to life. We have determined that these protocols were not followed for the information received by the public access line, or PAL, on January 5th. So somebody in the public access line did not forward the information, or if they did, the next step up, so on and so forth. Somewhere along the line, the protocol failed. They're investigating it. I'm sure they're having an outside agency or their internal affairs bureau investigating it. But we have to understand and not jump the gun to say, and sorry for the choice of words there, but we have to understand that there are issues with gun violence in this country. Maybe minute some of the statistics, and I don't trust memes that share this information on Facebook or Twitter unless they show a credible source link, which this one that I saw didn't. So, but while there is gun violence, you're not going to be able to stop gun violence entirely. It still happens. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try. By all means, I'm very much pro Constitution, pro gun ownership. But I also believe that with that gun ownership comes gun owner responsibility. Meaning that if you resell the gun, you need to resell it to a reputable dealer, not just privately on Craigslist. Or if you do, you need to conduct a background check at your own cost or include it in the price of the purchase of the gun. That right there could help solve some of these problems. Now, I don't know specifically how he got a hold of the gun. I honest to be honest, like most Americans, I'm desensitized to this because this is what the 18th mass shooting of the year. Come on, people. You can't tell me that you are not getting desensitized to this. Yeah, your heart hurts for the people that have lost, and if you are one of the loved ones involved, and I don't mean to belittle this, but there's only so much human there's only so much a human can take emotionally towards an event or a style of event before they become desensitized to it. And I'm trying not to. But here's the thing. I don't go digging through these stories anymore because I know it's much the same. Oh, let's see here. Fox News. Cruz has had Cruz had scores of run-ins with the law enforcement prior to Wednesday's shooting, dating back to 2010. One report says sheriff's deputies responded to his home more than 35 times in just 6 years. is just hard to it's just hard to hold on to this. It's hard to it's hard just to, do the whole, sending thoughts and prayers to people, to the victims of this the families of the victims and things like that. And I know this is gonna make me sound callous and uncaring, but again, we have to as and I don't own a gun, but if I did, I would probably still hold this view that we have to, as gun owners, be more held more responsible for the use of our weapons. They are tools, but they are also weapons. They are meant to inflict harm on somebody or something. The whole point of a gun was designed to break through armor. Cannons were built to break down walls, to end sieges. They're about as much of a tool as anything else that can be used for violence. They're used for self-defense. Yes, I understand that you have a better chance of deterring somebody if you have a gun with you. I get that. But it still doesn't negate the fact that there are still people who will, if they get access to a weapon, use it for malicious intent. And I know this is going to rile up the people on the right that are very pro Second Amendment, very pro guns. How dare you try to regulate what I can and cannot do with my right? Well, just with any other right you have, such as freedom of speech, freedom of religion, there are still consequences that can affect you negatively. If you spew hate speech with the intent to stir up violence towards another group of people, guess what? Your First Amendment right is not protected on that. Your First Amendment right to freedom of religion, if it puts people at danger, such as child abuse or child molestation, things like that, is not protected by the First Amendment. You have to understand that while we have rights, those rights do have to be curtailed a little bit in the interest of public safety. But Jay, guns guns don't kill people. People kill people. Yes, people kill people with guns. They kill them with knives. They kill them with spoons. They can kill them with just about anything they can get their hands on. Doesn't mean that we're going to regulate all of those either, does it? I mean, heck, growing up, they took away scissors in place of safety scissors. Every every school list that I see nowadays, if they mention scissors, they all say safety scissors, which don't cut for crap. Now, I'm sorry that it's rubbing people the wrong way, and I know it's going to rub the people that are that are anti-guns, that are anti-Second Amendment. Sorry about that. Being live, need to drink water. Can't edit it out. But that I don't want to do something crazy like take away guns because I don't. I honestly believe that we do need guns for self-defense. I honestly believe that the point of the Second Amendment is in order to keep and maintain a militia, that we have the right to own and the right to own and bear arms, basically, the right to own weapons. Is there a limit to what we should be able to? That's a gray area because as the military grows, in which you could get a dictator that could control the military and say, "Hey, I want you to go take out these people. Those people should have the right to defend themselves against assault weapons by using assault weapons. Doesn't mean that somebody should have a tank, though. Excuse me. These are just. Uh, it's such a gray area that we need to sit down and have these discussions. But the problem is we won't have these discussions. We as a society won't allow these discussions to happen. You have groups like the NRA, other pro-gun movements that make it seem like that anybody who brings up gun control is automatically trying to take away your right to own a gun, and that's not the case. What I'm advocating is that you take ownership and responsibility for your weapon at all times. Once it is out of your possession, i.e., you sold it, you better have sold it to a reputable person. Sorry to emphasize every syllable there, but if you sell it on Craigslist in a shady deal without doing a background check, you should be held not criminally liable for murder or anything, and not so civilly liable that you're basically broken and can't get a job, can't pay your bills. No, but you should be liable to the people whose lives were affected by by your inability or unwillingness to do a background check. If you can't do a background check and find out that the person is clear, and I know some people will pass background checks and still do something, but if you can say, "Hey, look, I had the background check done," then great. You are not going to be liable. If the person passed the background check, you wouldn't be held liable. I don't see any harm with that. And like I said, you can say, "Hey, look, because I have to do a background check, this is what the price is going to be," or make a little annotation in your ad. Price of gun includes the fee for a background check. You know, or if you're going to a gun dealer, i.e., a gun store, all you need is a proof receipt. Hey, I sold it to this gun store. Oh, well, then the gun store. Now the blame shifts to the gun store. That that right there could help tremendously keep some of this stuff out of the system. Yes, there are people that will have their guns stolen, but if you report, hey, you know, I I would report 911. Hey, my house was broken into, and I own X number of guns, and Y was taken with Z amount of clips, whatever, or clips, magazines, whatever you want to call them, how many rounds of ammunition, whatever. The point being that if you follow steps to show, hey, the only person who would have access to this besides me is my son, you can get the ball rolling and take care of that. Or, hey, nobody has access to this, but my whole little gun safe was taken, and this is the serial number. You provide them with all that information. As long as you have that proof that you contacted the police department immediately. I walked into my home, it was robbed. You go and make sure everything's safe and find that stuff's gone. Call 911. Hey, house was broken into. I have cleared. Nobody's here, but I had, again, X number of guns. Y's were taken. Y amount of guns were taken, and Z amount of ammunition was taken. That way, they can then be on the lookout. And then when the police get there, you file the report with the serial numbers and things like that. That is that's just kind of a basic, like, just sitting here for the last couple days thinking about it. I don't see the harm to your Second Amendment rights or my Second Amendment rights by having us go through background checks. I don't see any harm to providing a background to having you pay for a background check, even if you include it in the price of the sale to this other person. Be like, hey, I'm selling you this gun, but I'm including a background check fee. Great. background check fee? No problem, because if I can't pass a background check fee or pass a background check, I shouldn't be buying a gun. Now I know there are going to be still those illicit transactions where, say, a gun was stolen, filed down, resold, resold, resold. But you should be able to, and I know police aren't going to be able to find all of those. Police, law enforcement, they're not going to be able to find all of those. But we're gonna have to make some major changes to the system to allow this. It it's not that hard to make these changes. Simple practices by responsible gun owners, and I know many. I know far more responsible gun owners than I do people who are not responsible gun owners. I know far more gun owners that are understanding. They don't agree with what I say, but they at least hear me out and understand why I would want that. Again, they don't agree with it, but they understand it, you know? Um, much as I thought, yeah, the introductory points of the article at CNN for the same thing, the if I didn't act upon the tip that they had about the shooter is pretty much the same, even quote, same statement. And they had touches, um, yeah, they almost quote it word for word to the beginning, and they were into, "This is what we found out." Fox News runs in, "This is what we found out about Cruz and his previous experience, ex previous involvements with law enforcement." And yep, same thing. Um, CNN even talked about a, YouTube blogger from Mississippi who noticed an old comment on a video he had posted, and he said that he noticed the FBI right away, notified the FBI right away. The reason why I chose these 2 news sources is because they oftentimes are at odds with each other, and it's the best way to figure out kind of the middle ground of where everything is. So, again, just my heart goes out to these people. I wish I had money to afford to send to these people, but I don't. If I did, I would. But at the same time, I also am wanting to, um, I want to send, I want to give an idea for why we, or what we can do to make these changes in our society. Again, I'm not saying take away your guns. I'm not saying take away your right to own and possess firearms. I'm not even saying take away your right to an AR-15, though many of my liberal friends would want me to. But at the same time, we need to come up with a better way of dealing with things. And I haven't even looked at chat yet. Oh, okay, nobody's there. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it up on the side here, but sometimes when I'm messing with the windows, it goes off to the side. And kind of the last topic for today. Again, just got some stuff going on today. I'm going to be going with the Department of Justice indicts 13 Russians. Now we'll start with the CNN side of things this time. Grand jury indicts 13 Russian nationals over 2016 election interference. Giant picture of Rob Mueller, Robert Mueller. Wow. Talk about a Freudian slip, talking about FBI, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking of X Files. But CNN starts off with a federal grand jury has indicted 13 Russian nationals and 3 Russian entities for allegedly meddling in the 2016 presidential election, charging them with conspiracy to defraud the United States, the Department of Justice announced on Friday. In addition, 3 defendants were charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud, and 5 defendants with aggravated identity theft. That's your first 2 paragraphs. Quoting from Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, they quote, "The defendants allegedly conducted what they called information warfare against the United States, with the stated goal of spreading distrust towards the candidates and the political system in general." End quote. And more about Robert Mueller, and FBI director and deputy director briefed President Trump about this morning. And it goes into saying that as early as 2014, the Russian organization Internet Research Agency began operations to interfere with the U.S. political system, including the 2016 election, according to the indictment. The defendants allegedly posed as American persons, creating false U.S. personas, and operated social media pages and groups designed to attract the U.S. audience, the indictment reads. The Internet Research Agency had a, quote, strategic goal to sow discord in the U.S. political system, end quote, including the election, according to the indictment. The Russians also posted, quote, derogatory information about a number of candidates, end quote, and by mid 2016, they had supported Trump and disparaged Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. Wow. Let me guess. Oh, wait, we already knew all this. We don't know specifically the 13 people and the 3 companies, or specifically the Internet Research Agency. However, this is stuff we already knew. And the last paragraph of this was written by Manu Raju and Laura Jarrett. Quote, let's see, this is also a quote from Rod Rosenstein. Quote, there is no allegation that this indictment, that any American was a knowing participant in this illegal activity, end quote, he said. Quote, there is no allegation in this indictment that the charge conducted altered the outcome of the election in 2016, end quote. Now, for all my liberal friends, this is a liberal media site that's quoting Rod Rosenstein saying that there, quote, is no allegation in the indictment that the charge conduct altered the outcome of the 2016 election, end quote. Really, I mean, come on now. I know for the podcasters, you just hear that long pause, and I'm just like, with my hands up, I'm like, what the heck? We knew this already. It would be interesting to see if they are able to get a hold of these Russian nationals, and if they are going to be able to get them convicted. Because even if, oh, I'm sorry, Laura Jarrett contributed, but Manu Raju, David Shortell, and Veronica. Wow, I'm not even going to be able to pronounce that. Straqualaris Clercy. Yeah, they were the ones who wrote it, and Laura Jarrett just helped write the article. She contributed to it. With the Fox News side, 13 Russian nationals indicted for interfering with the U.S. elections. Before I go into this, while we knew all this, I totally understand and agree that any possible tampering with anything within our electoral system needs to be met with swift and harsh, well, not harsh, but swift justice, because you're attacking the sanctity of our political system. You're attacking the sanctity of our way of governing ourselves. We don't want an authoritarian government. We don't want an oligarchy, which is pretty close to what we have. We want a democratic republic where we vote in people to represent us, and those people need to represent us, not represent corporate interest. They need to represent the people. Now, yes, some of those people own corporations. Those people who own the corporations should represent themselves as people, not the corporation as people. But I digress. All right. So, a federal grand jury on Friday indicted 13 Russians and 3 Russian companies for allegedly interfering with the 2016 presidential election in a case brought by special counsel Robert Mueller that detailed a sophisticated plot to wage, quote, information warfare, end quote, against the U.S. The Russian nationals are accused of setting a, quote, strategic goal to sow discord in the U.S. political system, including the 2016 presidential election, end quote. Uh, the indictment, the first filed against Russian nationals as part of Mueller's probe, effectively returns focus to the meddling activities out of Russia in the run-up to the 2016 election, following a string of charges related to actions of Trump associates. There was a 37-page indictment signed by Mueller, so there. Um, the Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. There's no allegation. There's no allegation that any American was a knowing participant in the illegal activity. There's no allegation in the indictment that the charge conducted it altered the outcome of the 2016 election. End quote. So again, same as that last paragraph that I read from CNN. And this one is the 5th paragraph out of. Um, the defendants are accused of spreading derogatory information about Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, denigrating Republican candidates Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, and ultimately supporting Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders and then Republican candidate Donald Trump. So basically, what the Russians wanted, was 2 old white guys running for office, which is pretty much status quo for our political scene. Um, most of what the Fox News article is the same. They do tell us the actual all 3 companies, not just the Internet Research Agency LLC, but also Concord Management and Consulting and Concord Management and Consulting LLC and Concord Catering. Oh, they even give us the names of the people, which CNN didn't do. I'm not even going to try to pronounce these, so I'm going to screen share. Sorry for those on the podcast. If you want to, go to my YouTube channel, Jay Brown. I'll send a link to Dave when he posts it so you can get the video too. All right, so go here, screen share, application window, that. There we go. So as you can see, here are the 3 companies. Here are the people being indicted. I have a very hard time with the Russian names. I mean, I could probably get a few of them, but I'm not going to even try because I don't want to butcher some and get some right. So I figure it's easier to show you. Anyways, let's go back here. Stop sharing. The long story of all this, in my opinion, is we need to stop being so divisive. We need to stop having the extremes. And I don't even know if I'm looking at myself right. Stupid computer. We need to stop being extremely apart. We need to get back to more center-ish. I mean, you're always going to have those fringe groups. You're always going to have them out there, but we need to stop letting them hijack the parties. We also need to include not just 2 parties, but 3rd and 4th parties, 20 parties for all I care. Let people run on the merit of their message. not just how much money they can get to back them, not just let them run with, how many corporations they can get to sponsor them. And it, and if you are the owner of a corporation, maybe instead of peddling your money into the DNC and the RNC, maybe you start putting it into other parties that could maybe help alter the system as well. There's nothing wrong with, having other parties such as, like, heck, we started out with the Whigs and the Federalists, then the Democratic, or, Federalists and Federalists. Now we got the Whig, then we had the Whigs and Democratic Republicans, and so on and so forth, all the way up to now Democrat and Republican, which is rather ironic because at the time of the Civil War, Republicans were liberal and Democrats were conservative. Oh well. My, how time changes things. Let's see. Sometimes I get new emails every once in a while, so let's see here. I follow Politico, yes, I follow Politico and Huffington Post, but they just use those as starting points, um, not as my full source. But no. Now, here on here on the Podcast 99 Network, we have me and Dave who do political shows. I don't know, and the Dave and John show is kind of a social commentary with politics mixed in, from what I've heard, what I listened to. I haven't gone through um, their whole history. But we also have the El Evangelist show, which is really good. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is, don't rely on just one source of media for your information or your entertainment. Get get out there and broaden out what you hear, and don't just hear people that agree with your opinion. Listen to those that disagree. Maybe if you're riding around in your car and you're listening to your local radio, terrestrial radio, or satellite radio, talk show host, chat show host, whatever you want to call them, and then listen to the people who disagree with you and try to make your debate points. Like, you hear Rush Limbaugh say whatever Rush Limbaugh says. I don't even listen. I don't even listen to him that much, but I do peek into his show once in a while. Try to listen to what they're saying. Try and listen to what they disagree. I listen to POTUS most of the time in my car, and what I hear on there, specifically what I hear, what I listen for is Michael Smerconish, who's right-leaning independent. I'm more of a left-leaning independent, so him and I don't always agree. We don't always mesh. We butt heads a lot, or at least as far as our opinions go. But I also listen to Steele and Unger. Steele being a Republican, Unger being a Democrat. I like having those different viewpoints, because how else am I going to educate myself to be a good voter? How am I supposed to educate myself to understand the politics of life? Politics isn't supposed to be party line, party line. Check off party line, party line, party line. You should be listening to the candidates for their how do I want to put it? Sorry. How do I want to put it? Basically, you should be looking at the candidates for their merits, for what they stand for. Just because a candidate is in another party doesn't mean that you don't agree with some of what they say. And if you agree with the majority of what they say and just little things, maybe you should vote for them instead of your party candidate, who you might disagree with on more things than you agree with. You should also not hold yourself specifically to a party. Sorry. Um, you shouldn't hold yourself specifically to one party for a lifetime. You should grow and learn and branch out. Um, really, we just need to, how do I want to put this? We need to stop blaming the other party. We need to learn what the other party has to say and understand what they have to say and learn about the issue itself. Stay away from the memes. Stay away from infographics that aren't sourced. If it doesn't have a source, then it's not probably accurate. I mean, there are things that I could go on that, like some of my family are feminists, some of my family are creationists, some of my family are pro life, some of my family is pro choice, some of my friends are anywhere in between. But the whole point that I try to do is listen to each side, go and research. I know we don't all have time to go and research, but try. If you ride the bus home, you have a smartphone or you have a tablet that has connection via cell towers, do a little bit of research. Don't sit there and mind numbingly watch, whatever TV show you're watching. Move on. Read, learn. I don't like PragerU videos at all. I still watch them because some of the information they present is factually accurate, even if it's taken out of context. Some of the things that the the far left shares, about things is also factually correct, even though it's taken out of context. You gotta find it. Like I said, we can't come. Sorry, hit my mic again. I need to get a new boom arm. I need to get a new boom altogether. Duh, yeah. Anyways, we need to educate ourselves. We need to motivate ourselves to learn about the issues. And the only way we're going to do that is if we do it. And by doing so, we the people can fix what's going on in Washington D.C. We the people can drain the swamp. If we hold candidates accountable, if we hold corporations accountable, if you're going to back a candidate and that candidate doesn't do what they say they're going to do, back somebody else until you find somebody that's doing what they say they're going to do. Now, I understand that there are some rules prohibiting in Congress that make it hard for junior members to get stuff done. I get that, but as they move up, if they're not making those things work, then what are we going to do? Anyways, this is a little unscripted. I was hoping to be able to write a script, but with again everything going on with the dog and everything, we have just I just haven't had time. Plus, I have school and work. So, but hopefully, I'll be able to get in the flow of things. Like I said, I'm going to call this This Week in Politics. I'm going to try and create a YouTube channel for it specifically. So you'll see all my Google Hangouts will be through my channel here, J Brown. Hold on. Sorry about that. You'll see things come through on J Brown and come check me out live. I would love to have people in the chat and talk to me, but um, totally lost my train of thought. I'm also going to set up a sports one and another one that's general skepticism and science. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you're listening, hope you enjoyed it. And if you get a chance, go back and check out my video so you can see those 13 Russians who were indicted. It is on foxnews.com under the Department of Justice's breaking news for today, February 16th. And still trying to figure out a tagline to end the show with. So, with that said, we are going to I'm basically going to end it here. I want to thank you again for coming in. Hold on just a second. Something ain't right there. Oh, I know what it is. It's one of these. There we go. Sorry. I'm hearing the video and I don't want to get copyright because I'm not necessarily working on those. But anyways, this has been another Jay's Politics Blog podcast, part of the Podcast 99 Network. You can reach us at podcast99.org, where you can check out the Ale Evangelist Show, Dave Bowman Show, Plausibly Live, and the Dave and John Show, as well as Constitution Thursday. Really encourage you to go check those out. You can also reach me directly at jpoliticspodcast@gmail.com. That is jpoliticspodcast@gmail.com. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. It's a 3-day weekend with President's Day, and I'm working on Monday, and I get my time and a half for that. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your weekend.